So dithering is this technique we use to achieve a gradient of colors when we need a transition, and the way we usually do it is we manually create this half-tone pattern that creates the illusion of these two colors mixing together. If I turn this off and zoom out, you can see how it appears as this is another shade of gray in between those two. There are a couple of ways of making this process faster. One is Dan Fessler's index painting method, and I will link to it in the comments. And it's a very powerful method which can create things like this. And here I'm actually using the pressure sensitivity of my stylus to actually paint in different colors. This is pretty powerful, but it's not the most easy to control, and you can only do it in Photoshop with the help of this posterized adjustment layer. I'll leave the details for his article to explain. What I wanted to talk to you about today is a technique I developed while using GIMP, which doesn't have these options. For example, as in the Pixel China Mountains artwork, there is a time lapse you can see of me painting this. If I were to do this by hand placing the halftone pattern, it would be very slow. So what I developed is this technique with layer masks. So I'm gonna create a new layer and I'm gonna give it a mask, and what needs to happen on the mask is it needs this halftone black and white pattern. So the same as here, but I'm gonna paint in just black and white. So it's gonna be only this little area here. I'm gonna select it and then go edit, define pattern. Now if I go back to my painting, so while you're on the mask layer, go get your paint bucket and instead of filling with the foreground, choose a pattern and now select the halftone dither pattern that you chose. And then fill it in, and you see how in the thumbnail it appears a little bit gray. So now here, when I take another color and I paint with my pencil, it's just gonna, because the layer mask is in effect, it's just gonna appear in half of those squares. And this works for any colors that you put over, whereas the index painting method doesn't. So whatever you want to paint in full, you would just select the layer behind, and then when you want to have the dithered, you just go on one layer above, and then you paint in those dithered areas like this. And you can also use other dither patterns. Let's say that I wanted to go up into 1/4, so I can create a new layer with a mask and then go back to fill, and then I have another one prepared that's just one out of the 4 squares is painted. Paint this in, and when I go back to painting, so this one now has just one of the 4. But you see how it matters how they are aligned, like here on the edge. These two patterns aren't actually aligned. So I'm going to choose my move tool and I'm just going to select the mask and then move only the mask around until, yes, it fits perfectly with the rest of it. And so now when I paint, it just kind of goes out of this. And that's really it. Hope you find this technique useful. You can see my Pixel China Mountains video to see it in practice and have fun painting.